Good morning and welcome to Gentex Multimedia Livecast, streaming to your device live from Brisbane, Australia on this 22nd day of October 2020. It's a beautiful day out there. Well, let's first take a very quick look at what today has in store for us weather-wise. And with that, we'd like to welcome Dilraj. Welcome, Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 26 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with high chances of rain, tending to drizzle in the evening. There are chances of thunderstorm in the afternoon. Light winds becoming northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the afternoon, then becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 3 past 10 and UV index is predicted to reach 9, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Dilraj. It's wonderful to see that it's a wonderful weather out there. And of course, fire protection is always recommended around this time of the year. Well, there's so much to talk about today on the show. And don't forget that today we'll bring to you an update on how to get to India, or if you are stuck in India, how to get back to Australia. And with that update, we'll be welcoming Tanvi Goyal from Oz India Travels. So that's coming on later in the show. But first of all, let's get on with the news for today. With that, let's see what's making news and let's get to our headlines.
School has been shut down and health officials will be going door to door in Melbourne's north this morning in an attempt to limit a new COVID-19 cluster. A student at the East Preston Islamic College tested positive yesterday. The school says there was confusion about the case after his siblings recovered from the virus, but the boy was supposed to stay in isolation. Other cases have also been identified in a social housing block in Broadmeadows in the city's north, with 120 residents told to self-isolate. Meantime, in New South Wales, a health alert has been issued for anyone who attended last weekend's Bathurst 1000 race. It comes after remnants of the virus were detected in raw sewage in the area. Racegoers and local residents are being urged to get tested if they show any symptoms. Pope Francis has become the first pope to voice support for same-sex civil unions in some of the clearest comments he's ever made on gay rights. In a new documentary about his life and work, the Pope says gay and lesbian couples should be protected by civil union laws. He says homosexual people have the right to be in a family. There are claims 2 CIA agents were attacked with a sophisticated microwave weapon while on Australian soil. America's GQ magazine reports the intelligence officers described ringing in their ears and feeling nauseous and dizzy while visiting Australia late last year. The symptoms are similar to those suffered by American diplomats serving in Cuba. The federal government has declined to comment.
And that's the headlines for this morning as we move on with the news. Well, of course, when we talk about speech and, getting the word out there, there's many of us within the communities who do stutter. So, is there an imperative or what's the case with that? So let's go to that next news with Vijay Anand.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. So I'm Vikesh Anand, National President of the Australian Speak Easy Association, Australian Speak body supporting people who stutter. And I'm here with Andrew Forrest. Thank you for your time, Andrew. I know you're a busy man.
Vikesh, it's a great pleasure to both support the work of the Speak Easy organisation and to thank you for making sure people know that having a stutter can be seen as a bit of a pain, but it can also be something which allows you to develop all your other good points and to live with the stutter or to get over stutter, and either way you can live full, rich and happy lives.
Yeah, those are some great points, Andrew. So when did you first well, I'll start off by saying I've been told I stuttered all my life, grown up with it, and it wasn't until grade 7 that something clicked and I felt my words came out differently than others. So my mom tells me, up until then, I still had a stutter, something in grade 7 made me recluse myself, and I stopped raising my hand in class because I realized this wasn't the same. When do you remember, when did you first realize that you had a stutter, or that your words came out a bit differently?
Well, my stutter would probably be a bit different. When I had to raise my hand in class, well, firstly, I wouldn't do it unless I had to. Secondly, the more important the words were, Vikesh, the less I could say them. And wouldn't matter what the words were necessarily. I thought it was anything beginning with a W, but then it was anything beginning with an M. So really anything. I just found it, if I really had to say something, I couldn't say it. And I was just kind of stuck with it. And I think it started to occur probably around grade 3 or 4. But I knew by year 10 and 11, I just had to get out of this somehow.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and I think it's interesting they bring that up. I still stutter on my name, and it usually comes out as Vikesh with three V's. And I tell people, I said, I don't have any fear, I don't have any anxiety. It's just the way I'm wired. It's just the way it is. But it's one of those things that names are hard to change. It's possible, but not something you can easily change. And so it almost becomes one of those things that becomes even more prominent for the stutter.
Yeah. Anyway, so back over to you.
And when did you or meet someone else that had a stutter, or at what point did you realize I'm not the only one that has this?
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. We'd leave that the interview there. Vikas Anand, doing a wonderful job there as the national president. And of course, there are many kinds of conditions that people live with, and they deal with all that in a day-to-day basis. When it comes to speech, there are many words that many people have problems, pronouncing, and many times, I know I have difficulty with few words, and I always try and get around by substituting that word for something else, which means sometimes, it does not mean quite exactly the same, but these are the things, and a lot of people go to speech therapies as well to make sure that, they are speaking in the right way. Of course, accent also plays a bit of a role in there as well, but, stutter, having that stutter is a condition, and it is a condition that you have to live with and deal with it the best you can. In any given circumstances, what a person can do is deal with that situation. You cannot change the situation, and your reactions will depend. So whenever you are faced with any problems or you are in a big dilemma, that is not the time when you start beating down your team and everyone or blame game. If you are faced with a problem, at that point in time, the whole team and everyone needs to get together and address that problem. Address that problem and try and see how best can we get out of this situation, and afterwards analyze, do a debrief, and then have a look at it and see what happened and what went wrong. But that point in time, don't add to the problem. Try and solve that problem. But what happens many times, people get very reactive. Something happens and they start ailing each other, and someone blames the other one. They say, you should have done this and you didn't do this. This was supposed to have been done, and all those things. No, that's not the right time. That time is damage control. Try and control the situation the best you can with a team effort. Everyone get together and control the situation. Let's see how best it can be done. Yes, afterwards, don't let it just go like that. Afterwards, do have a, debriefing session. Look at it, analyze it, see what went wrong so that it's not repeated. Well, right now, enough of that. Let's move on with the news. And the first news is New South Wales Premier says that if more people wear masks in public transport, they can increase the capacity, it might sound like a very simple statement, but it is profound. When you look at it, simple things like that can, but I will say up front, the soundtrack is a little bit noisy because of all the works and the traffic around. So here's that news from New South Wales.
Peter Stritch bought this property in Sydney's southwest 30 years ago.
We loved the lifestyle. It was a slice of country living still in the city.
His property is near the site of the new Western Sydney Airport. Right next door is the headquarters of the company, now at the centre of a national political scandal. The Auditor General found the federal government paid the Leppington Pastoral Company $30 million for a parcel of land near the airport site. 10 times its later.
But we do want to encourage people wearing more masks. If we see that mask wearing goes back up, we can increase the number of people on public transport, but we're not there yet. We want to make that possible. We want to increase the number of people that can ride on trains and buses and ferries, but we won't have the confidence to do that unless more people are wearing masks. I'm advised through transport that unfortunately mask wearing has declined on public transport and we desperately need it to go back up. If mask wearing does go back up, we will be increasing the number of people we're allowing on our public transport modes because we do want to see people come back to the CBD to work.
Of course, we want to see the people coming back. And right now, let's go to the news, which started earlier, was the Federal Police investigating the purchase of the land for the new Western Sydney Airport.
His property is near the site of the new Western Sydney Airport. Right next door is the headquarters of the company, now at the centre of a national political scandal. The Auditor General found the federal government paid the Leppington Pastoral Company $30 million for a parcel of land near the airport site, 10 times its later valuation.
The Leppington Pastoral Company probably starts at that border there.
What's coming to light is, there's a whole lot of shenanigans that have obviously been occurring, and it's just like makes people absolutely livid.
We're a little bit overly focused on politicians and we're missing a lot of the story at the top of government departments and statutory bodies.
The purchase of the Leppington Triangle has moved from scandal to potential criminal case, with the Federal Police called in to investigate.
There was information that we found which we couldn't explain and that was suggestive of the fact that the Commonwealth may have been defrauded.
This week, the National Audit Office revealed it had referred the matter to the Federal Police back in July, long before its damning report became public.
What is the status of the investigation?
I think you'd have to ask the AFP.
No, that's fine.
The next day, Federal Police gave some insight into the scale of the investigation now underway.
On the 28th of August, they provided 256 gigabytes of information to the AFP.
How many?
256 gigabytes. It's
right.
a lot. It's a lot. I think over 800 files with information in it that we're currently ingesting and analysing that information, Senator.
First, there was a decision made to take compulsory acquisition off the table. We don't know who made that decision, but that decision was made. A decision was also made that we were going to pay $30 million for this, and that was factored into the overall budget for land acquisitions around Western Sydney. And then it looks like everything's been retrofitted to achieve that outcome.
The National Audit Office says the Infrastructure Department did not give accurate answers to its questions during the audit, an allegation the department has essentially conceded.
But worse, what it looks like is people tried to cover it up when the Audit Office came asking questions.
Senator, I agree with you.
Thank you. When did you become Secretary?
In November.
And as we have seen that news yesterday, where he's trying to say that all he wants to do is make sure that everything's up and above board and that it's clean. But right now, let's get an update right here from Queensland as we join with Mr. Stephen Miles.
Good morning, Bundaberg, and everyone who's watching online.
In Bundaberg.
It's great to be with you.
I can report again today that we've had no new cases of COVID-19 in Queensland overnight, which I think makes 42 days now of no community transmission. One of our active cases has recovered, and so we have 4 active cases now. We did 4,760 tests in the last testing period. We are monitoring a cargo ship off the coast of the Sunshine Coast, where we have now tested all of the crew to have tested positive. There's a meeting underway at the moment to determine if they will be evacuated to a hospital on the mainland and which hospital that will be. So we'll have more information to hand shortly. They will begin being counted in Queensland and Australia's COVID tally once they arrive on shore, so they are not currently counted as Queensland cases. Excuse me. I want to shout out to Richard, our longest hospitalised COVID patient. Richard has been in the Gold Coast University Hospital for months now. I had the pleasure of visiting with him a little while ago. He spent months in intensive care, but the doctors there have done just a fantastic job, and he's being released from hospital today, something I'm really, really pleased about. This great news out of Queensland, of course, contrasts with an awful 24-hour period worldwide. The United States recorded 60,000 new cases of COVID-19, threatening to overwhelm their hospital system. Italy is in the process of reintroducing a curfew after having a record number of new cases, 15,199. Sweden, the country that the pin-up country for the herd immunity approach, the country that thought they could just let the virus go through their community, are now for the first time considering a lockdown after a 93% increase in cases in just 3 weeks to 5,627 new cases a day. France has experienced 6 days in the last 12 of more than 25,000 cases in a day. In fact, in the last 24-hour period, 20 different countries recorded record numbers of COVID cases. So you can see that while we continue to do very well here in Australia and especially in Queensland, this pandemic is far, far from over. In fact, it continues to get far, far worse. It's wonderful to be in Bundaberg with our fantastic local Labor candidate, Tom Smith. He's doing a really great job of advocating for better services in this local community and for jobs in this local community. And my announcement today does both. What we're announcing today...
And right now, let's move over to breaking news of IFL Grand Final entertainment and what's going to happen there.
Which is going to be unbelievable, I think. It'll be showcase this extraordinary lineup, and it'll showcase the fact that we're at night, and it'll be a real production. So to wherever Tony is, he's probably putting some cabling together or something like that down the back of the bows, and Thea, there he is. Thank you to those, and obviously to Michael Gudinski back in Melbourne, who's done our work with us for years. So thank you to all those, and I'll hand over to Kylie.
Thank you, Gil, and I should be so lucky. Welcome everyone. It's great to be standing on the very stage that these wonderful artists will be performing on Saturday night. As Gil mentioned, this year's lineup features some of Australia and some of Queensland's best artists and performers. It is a showcase of the diverse talent and voices within this state and around the nation, and one of the biggest lineups of artists and performers we've ever had. I'm proud to introduce you to them all now. To my right, I'd like to introduce you to Johnny Took from the DMAs. With 3 top number 10 ARIA albums, 9 ARIA nominations and multiple ARIA Platinum and Gold singles already under his belt, DMAs have well and truly established themselves as a household name, both here and in the UK. Welcome. We're also thrilled to be featuring one of Brisbane's most loved and most recognisable success stories, Shepherd. With continued
Apologize for that news feed. I mean, the signal's not, and there's a lot of people who have been watching that, and that feed has just gone down. There are many comments that people are making. Well, but moving on, let's now go into the segment which we were talking about before. That today, once again, we'd like to welcome to the studios Tanvi Goel from Oz India Travel, and we're doing a follow-up of what we did last week, and thank you so much for everyone for that amazing feedback that everyone gave us, and here's what we're going to talk about that once again today, moving on from where we left last week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another of the current affairs and community segment, and where we bring to you latest news of things that are happening within the community that really affects our community, and it is for community information. And with that, last week when we did an update on how the people could get to India, what were the travel arrangements, and we were fortunate to have Tanvi from Oz India Travel with us and discuss, and that segment went very well. And because of all your feedback and because of the request for a follow-up segment, here we are today. So once again, Tanvi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Umesh. Hello everyone, this is Tanvi from Oz India Travel. Once again with you with travel updates. So hope you all are safe and sound. Thank you for listening to us, first of all, Australian Indian Radio. And thank you, Umesh. Please note these advices are as per the current updates we received. So for all up-to-date information, please call us or check government websites because rules may change anytime.
And of course, they can change anytime. And you know what? Yeah. After last time, we received so many calls from people asking whether you think commercial flights to India and Australia will begin soon. So what's the update on that?
Okay, so amazing. Doesn't look like actually commercial flights going to start at least for the remaining year. So I would say we so far looks like maybe in January or February they may start. But there is really no news at this stage. So I would say just keep following us on Facebook page and we will do more follow-ups, but nothing at this stage, Umesh.
Okay, so beginning with, so starting off, if people need to travel from Brisbane, what are the current options?
Okay, so current options, Umesh. So if you want to go easiest, guys, so the best option is 5th of November. That's a direct charter from Brisbane. Still, there are a few seats left. You are lucky. So that's the easiest option from Brisbane. 5th November, flight departs 3 p.m., reaching Delhi in night 12:45 a.m. And we can connect it to all the cities in India. So Chennai, Ahmedabad, Amritsar, Mumbai, any state or any destination, you name it. And the fare starts $1435. So that's the option number one. The easiest you can get, you still have option. Number two, if you can't fly till 5th of November, you can fly with Emirates. But remember, Emirates are going with very long hauls. So it's like 22 hours, very long. You would need hotel for that, which we can arrange for you as well. So that's not a problem, but it's a very long journey. And the fare of that one starts from $1,095 per person. And option three, if you don't want to go on a longer journey, this big journey, the third option is we can connect you from Sydney or Melbourne. And for that, fare starts from $1,295 per person. Amazing.
So that is wonderful. The flights aren't that expensive when you're looking at, the current time and everything. And we've also had so many calls, from Sydney. And people are calling from Sydney and they're very curious to find out what their options are, from Sydney.
So, Umesh, the latest date we can give from Sydney is 29th of October. There is a flight tomorrow as well, but that's sold out. So, earliest you can book is 29th of October. And then we have 11th November. There is a 17th November option to Bangalore. So, majority of flights, Umesh, we have till Delhi, but there is only one option with one of our partners to Bangalore on 15th of November. And the fare of that one also starts from $1,295.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, we know right now many people in Melbourne or Victoria are stuck as well. So how about them? What are the options for Melbourne?
I would say, Umesh, though it's really going crazy, the COVID going crazy in Melbourne. But Melbourne people got the maximum option if you look at Australia wide. So pretty much every week from Melbourne we have couple of 2-3 options. So because of Diwali there are some new launches also happened, which I'm really very happy to say that we got calls from so many people from Punjab that they want to have a straight flight to Amritsar. So there are 2 straight flight to Amritsar on 2nd November and 9th of November. Before that, we have a flight to Delhi as well. So on 30th October and 1st of November. And also there is a direct flight to Bangalore as well. The very first time I would say from Melbourne to Bangalore, people can have a straight flight on 8th of December. And fare from Melbourne is even cheaper. You won't believe it. It's $1,195 per person.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, of course, the other thing that people are very confused about, and many people have called us, is like, okay, we have to get so many things done, which we talked about in last episode. And thank you very much for explaining those processes. Now, one process that people are still probably not very clear on is, okay, when do they need to get their COVID test done?
Okay, so COVID test, even I totally agree with you, Umeshji. We even receive a lot of calls and people are very confused and very stressed. So first of all, I would say, guys, you don't have to stress about anything at all. These days, things are getting better day by day. So previously, no one could fly without COVID test, but these days, even charter companies are mostly, if in case someone miss or go on emergency, they have option in Delhi as well where you can do it. And if you still need to know, you definitely should do it before you go, but it's not a stressful thing because it's just a part of process. Now, I'll go through with you once again the same thing which I told in last episode as well. So first of all, you can go to any of the centers. So it can be a hospital, any of the clinics, whoever is doing the COVID test, you can go there, any center around you. That's not a problem. I would recommend you to call them before you go because some of the centers may have a different procedure. They might charge as well. So we just so far heard only 1% passengers said they were charged like $135, but majority of our passengers said they were not charged. So it's good to check what is their procedure. So once you reach there to get the test, make sure you tell them that your flight is within 96 hours. So they put in their record and they don't take much time to give you a result. Now, once you get the result, just check whether they are giving you by SMS on your phone or in a letter, because you definitely need a letter these days. So when you fly to India, you may have to make sure that you have a COVID test letter with you in case your application is not submitted or anything. So if they send you a letter, that result by SMS, what you have to do is just go to any of your nearest GP and show them your test on the phone, and they should be able to write a letter for you. Now, there is a very important thing for you to know that in that letter, there are 4 mandatory things to be there on that letter. First is the traveler name as per passport. Second is the date of birth as per passport. Third is when and what time the test was done. And fourth is very, very important is the COVID test is negative. So make sure when you get the letter, it should have all 4 things. Now, still if you are confused, you can go on our page, Oz India Travel, and I have created a specific video explaining all that step by step. So you can go on our page and you can again watch that video and it will give you information. Amazing.
And here's that site on the screen right now. You can have a look, and that's where we need to go. Well, one of the other questions that we have always get, and people are still very curious about, is okay. So what's going to happen to all the people who are in India, and if they need to come to Australia? So what's the situation from India to Australia?
I would say it's exciting right now, Umeshji. Last time we were not sure what's happening, but I'm really very excited to tell you that government finally launched some repatriation flight from India. They're going to start very soon. It's basically Qantas flights. And government is planning to bring 1,315 Australians stuck overseas. And India is one of them.
Oh, so that is wonderful news there as well. What are the flight routes?
Okay, so at this stage, Umeshji, there is only one route they are proposing. So that's New Delhi to Darwin. But after serving 14 days of quarantine, people can go to their state as well. So it doesn't matter which state you are from, you can come to Darwin, and then after serving your hotel quarantine, people can go to their state.
Okay, so what's that going to cost them? Out-of-pocket expenses, what would be the cost?
It won't be less, I would say, considering they have to pay for quarantine too. But the fare of that one, Umeshji, starts from $1,500 per person.
Okay, so you just mentioned quarantine. So what would the quarantine cost be like?
So quarantine, as per the information we received so far, Umeshji, it's around $4,500 per person. Or if there is a family of 4, it may cost them around $5,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. And did they mention any travel dates? What can people start planning for some dates that might be available?
Yeah. So there are 4 dates they have released so far. So first is 26th October. Second is 9th of November. Third is 23rd of November. And fourth is 27th of November. So let me repeat again. So 26th October, 9th November, 23rd November, and 27th November.
Okay, so please note those dates. Those are here on your screen right now. And now, how can people go about the booking procedure? What would the booking procedure be?
So basically, Umeshji, the DFAT, so the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, will contact Australians in vulnerable positions who have registered from the department in the United Kingdom, South Africa, and India. So basically, they are selecting themselves and they will contact you to book it.
Okay. Is there any other requirements besides all that?
So Qantas says all passengers will be COVID tested at least 48 hours prior to departure and must test negative in order to board the flight. So that is mandatory. They must wear mask all the time throughout the flight and will be tested again on arrival in India before they enter 14 days quarantine.
Okay, well, that is wonderful news, that, they can come back. And of course, the quarantine will be that the period that they will really need to be mindful of, that if they're planning anything, they'll need to allow that much time as well. So you can't plan that, all right, I'll come here and I'll go to this, what and that. You'll have to allow for that quarantine period as well. I think sometimes people miss that point. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show once again and providing that very, very useful information to our in our community, especially people. Of course, we know that at this point in time, only people who really need to travel will be traveling, and they are the people who really need the information. I don't think everyone's got the information, and sort of many people are very confused. So you're providing this information as a community service is wonderful and it's very commendable. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Umeshji, and thank you everyone for listening to us on Australian Indian Radio. If you have any question, you can message on this link or call Australian Indian Radio, or you can call us as well on 040-440-3264. You can email me as well at sanvi@ausindiatravel.com.au or post on our Facebook page. And yeah, so we're always happy to answer any of your questions. So happy Diwali in advance as well. So yeah, I know many of you are already excited, isn't it, Umeshji? Just stay safe, stay happy, and let us know if you need any help. Thank you very much.
And that is wonderful. And I must add before Tanvi goes that Tanvi is also available to help anyone who might not have booked through her agency, but if you need advice, please do call her. She is such a good person. She will provide you with that advice as well. So once again, wonderful to have you on the show, and thank you so much for sharing this valuable information with our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
And that was that interview with Tanvi Goyal from Oz India Travel. And of course, we know at this point in time, as I mentioned before, that the only people who would be traveling are ones who really, really need to go. And if you do need to have those kind of information with you. Otherwise, it's very hard to find everything. And if you know someone who can, do the booking and give you all the info that's required, isn't that a wonderful service? Right now, let's go to our commercial break for today.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty.
GlobeNet Realty, real estate is the world. Well, right now, talking about world, let's go to some world news. And with the world news, what we are looking at is what's happening right there in Afghanistan. Well, number one, first we go to that report, and after the report, we will look at the stampede that took place when they were taking passports for visas. Well, right now, first one, Chris Berry discusses the alleged war crimes in Afghanistan. Here's that report.
And you just heard a silence, and then we heard a pop, and then they said, okay, we have 6 prisoners. And so it was pretty apparent to everybody involved in that mission that they had just killed a prisoner, that we had just watched them like catch and hog tie.
The former head of the Defence Force is retired Admiral Chris Barry. Thank you very much for your time today.
Great to be with you, Lee.
How serious is it that this allegation of a war crime has come from an ally, in this case a US Marine, having served alongside Australian commandos?
Well, I think it's very disappointing, and it's also quite distressing, both in terms of the allegation being made by somebody from another force, and secondly from the nature of the alleged crime itself.
The Marine says that the US air crews were stunned by what they saw and heard. If this is true, and also given the other allegations we've heard and the investigation that we know is going on, what does it say about the culture of the SAS?
Look, the real answer to that is I don't know, because putting it in the context of the over 100,000 Australians who've been to Afghanistan and Iraq, and let's say the 55 plus incidents that might now come to light, prima facie it doesn't sound like a large number. But what is distressing about this particular allegation is, firstly, it was cold-blooded murder, and secondly, it was a war crime because the person who was handcuffed was actually a prisoner, and that is against the laws of armed conflict.
The Inspector General of Defence has spent more than 4 years investigating alleged war crimes by Australian Special Forces in Afghanistan. As you say, they've identified, we believe, 55 breaches, and the release of the public version of that inquiry is due out pretty shortly. What are likely to be the ramifications of that?
Well, as the CDF who set up the Inspector General for the ADF to deal with incidents just like this, I'm delighted that we do have an independent way of looking at the allegations in the first instance.
There is an independent way of looking at those allegations, and of course we know with the war, it creates lots of refugees, and then whenever there is a situation where there is a chance of a visa being granted, this is what happens. People run to get they hand over their passports, and as you will see in this scary clip next, that how the passports are just collected and passed on, you won't even know. And while this was all happening, so many people died that 11 of the 15 victims that were killed were women, and several senior citizens who were among the ones killed in this stampede to get visas in Afghanistan. People just handing over the passports, and if you can see up there, he's collecting all those passports, and they are all piled up on those desks and at the bottom there. How would anyone know whose passport? My God, what? So that is the state of affairs. They are as scary as I did say before. Well, now we'll go to Lagos, where gunfires were fired in the Lekki district as soldiers have opened fire on the Nigerians protesting against the police brutality there.
Let them shoot, let them shoot. No problem. No problem. Everyone sit down, sit down, sit down.
And next we go to Cambodia, where large-scale flooding there has disrupted the daily work. You can imagine the massive cleanup effort after that, and of course the danger of another epidemic. That's the scenes coming out of Cambodia, and of course the last news for today, of course, is that when you look at neighboring other countries, Vietnam has similar flooding situations right at this point in time.
Mùa lũ cũng là mùa của những mất mát phủ trùm lên khúc ruột miền Trung. Không còn thấy gì ngoài những mái nhà nhô trên mặt nước.
Large-scale flooding in Vietnam.
Nơi cao nhất để trú ẩn của những người dân ở xã Lộc Thủy, huyện Lệ Thủy, tỉnh Quảng Bình. Bà Thọ và hầu hết người dân ở vùng lũ nơi đây đã phải trải qua nhiều ngày huyện Lệ Thủy chỉ trông chờ vào thực phẩm cứu trợ, đặc biệt là cứu nước uống. Tính đến thời điểm hiện tại, các nguồn cứu trợ của tỉnh, huyện và các đoàn chỉ đáp ứng được khoảng 60 đến 70%.
Rescue workers have a tough time trying to get supplies, food and other supplies to the stranded people out there. So they're doing a wonderful job trying to get the emergency supplies to the people stuck in those floods, and of course shifting them to higher grounds, to safer grounds. But it's quite a massive operation, as you can see, and quite large scale flooding all around the place there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Cambodia, and the last shot was from Vietnam. Well, right now, let's go and take a look at all the functions and events taking place in and around Brisbane. Remember, a lot of these are happening virtually or taking place online.
Oh.
So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the functions and events taking place in and around Brisbane. And of course, this weekend, big news is on Saturday night, the AFL Grand Final right here in Brisbane, a totally sold out event. And I know that people are if you go on the social media, everyone's trying to see if they can get their whole hands on getting some tickets, but it is going to be very hard. And of course, we have the White Ribbon State Conference happening this Saturday as well. And tomorrow is our morning tea at the Government House. So tomorrow's live will be at 2 p.m. and not at 10 a.m. in the morning, and we'll bring to you the report from Government House to see what's happening there. As we know, in this morning's news, what was identified was that in and around the AFL Grand Finals and on those footy nights, that the rate of domestic violence always increases. The number of incidents that are reported is always high. So that's been a trend that has been identified. So, as the Queensland Vice Chair of the Queensland State Committee of White Ribbon, I urge everyone to please take care, sit down, relax, enjoy the game, and for the ladies, give the men the space that they need to sit down and watch the match, join in, and if it doesn't interest you, you maybe watch the movie or TV or something else. But of course, we know that many people will be at the Gabba watching the so live, and it is happening for the first time ever in Queensland. So we'll try and bring to you as much coverage of that as possible. And right now, it's time for me to say goodbye. It's been wonderful. It's always so good to see you. It's nice to have your company on the show. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Be good. Most importantly, remain safe.